It all started with this pan. Too big to put in a cabinet somewhere. I bought it this big because I wanted to make pizza on top of my wood stove. So I had to put it somewhere. Let's put it on the wall. And then I started putting my other pans I use every day, on another hook on the wall. And then I grabbed these two pans from Twin Lake before I moved. These two cast iron ones I should have just left there. I left a few pans there as it was. Probably should have left those two too. I don't really use them. They're just kind of pans I love from the past. Probably did French toast in this one almost every morning for a long spell. High school, junior high school. Well, then I kind of liked decluttering, so I added this other row. Get the pans off the top of the stove that are always on top of the stove and put them on the wall. And now I've even added another row now that the Lazy Susan is broken down. Lazy Susan just can't take this kind of weight. So, to get the burden off my shelves, my Lazy Susan, this oven drawer, I have the wall of pans, and the little kitten fountain still working. Lazy Susan blues. Pretty typical problem. It started dragging in the bottom real bad. And of course I had it totally overloaded. Not with all this stuff, but with half those pans that are on the wall now. So I listened to my brother-in-law's description of the job. I kind of half listened. I also should have looked at the instructions that were stuck in a little packet on the side here before I did anything. But I went gonzo and I just basically loosened up everything and thought I could heave everything upwards and tighten everything back down and it'd be all set. Well, it's not that easy. First of all, get every single scrap of paper and item out of the Lazy Susan because it's heavy enough to deal with. It's a pretty heavy beast. And basically you're dealing with a rod and two end pieces, a bottom end piece and a top end piece. The top end piece just has a retaining screw, and then it rolls in and out. It fits this little cup up here. And it fits in this little retaining cup here, which kind of fits on this surface here. Everything is right like that, and you can tighten it up. So for now I loosen this up and I'm letting this go in because my big need is to get the whole assembly upwards and then adjust this last is my thoughts. So there is also an end piece in the bottom which I figured out from the instructions. There's actually a little adjustment here. You can loosen the set screw and then you can slide this back and clockwise, counterclockwise. I got it all the way extended at this point downwards and it still drags. So what I did at first before I even started getting serious, like I said, I loosened everything, and that included these two bottom screws on each level, which I probably should have left alone. But I think what happened is this pole kind of went upwards. So I've gotten a couple 2x4 stubs to jack this thing up a little bit. I might find something a little better or something else. Jack it up as high as I can. Of course, I rock it forward, it'll be up higher too. And then I'm going to see if I can drop this post down when I loosen both those set screws. Maybe I can get that post down lower. Yeah, that idea seems to have worked. I loosened this one quite a bit. The one on top only took a little loosening. But I noticed there's a little dent right here. I probably got to get that back over to where that set screw is. So I got to get a little more lift on my 2x4s that I got this thing sitting on. But yeah, you can see I've got it freed up. I'm on the right track. I just got to get this dent under this screw and tighten it up on both levels. Then I should be home. getting this 2x4 in and under the wood there, get everything propped up more or less straight. That was really the key. Now you can see I've got a lot of control on this shaft. And I'm going to put that dent right underneath that screw. In fact, I'm going to hold it there and tighten it. Just starting to get tight. I'm see if I can feel that hole. Yeah, I think I'm in it. So I'm going to tighten it up right there. Okay, now I've reefed both these tight. Very snug, these bottom screws. So now I got to look at this little piece, that bottom piece sticking out, because I got it cranked all the way out. I think it's going to probably be too tall. I might just pull it in a ½ inch or so, closer to where it was. So you got to torque this one way or the other. When there's weight on it, it kind of jams up. Oh, and you got to loosen up the little set lock too, of course. There we go. Okay, so I've got it all the way clockwise right now with respect to looking down on it. And I think I want to go counterclockwise quite a bit. And just try that. Give myself some range both ways. And that's the little end that you can't normally see underneath this thing that you're adjusting the height of with this screw. So as I turn this, see the end goes up or down. And before, this little piece of metal pipe that was above this thing wasn't even showing. So of course the whole thing was collapsed. I'm going to go a good inch up. I'm going to guess that that's probably where I want it. Strictly a guess at this point. And I'm going to set the set screw so it stays there. But that's how that works. So the cup that receives the little nub there is adjustable via a lever. So you can spin the Lazy Susan so the opening, the corner piece is over the lever, and you can get to those bolts and adjust them a little bit fore and aft. At this point, I just want to make sure that the lever is tight and it's not moving around, hasn't gone in. So the thing about adjusting levers, if I do this, it wasn't Kaka before. If I adjust it anywhere, I got to adjust the top plate too to match it. I'd kind of like to pull them both outwards, because this thing is installed more or less flush to the cabinet instead of sticking proud like it should. It should stick proud like a drawer does instead of flush more or less. But that's how I always see these installed, so there's probably a reason. I'm probably on a fool's errand if I try to fight the wind here. So for now, I'm just going to try to get back together, make sure the lever doesn't move, and then pop it together and try to get my vertical spacing done at least. And it helps to rotate the cutout section back for this stage, because it's a little bit taller. It gives you a little more range to move around. And then you got to lift the whole thing up, and pop it into that socket, little nub into the socket, which I already assured myself isn't moving from where it was originally fixed. So now I got to pull this up. Like that, and tighten that screw, and I'm basically set. Okay, so I pulled that piece up and tightened the screw so it's sitting in its cup. I'm still hitting somewhere on the bottom. I gotta be taller. I still gotta be taller. So I gotta go back to my little thumbnail adjustment here and raise it up a little bit. I'm going clockwise. See, it hits the doors. It's hitting a little block of wood here. Then it would hit the frame. It's got to go way the hell up. I don't get it. And it still catches on both sides. So I still got to go clockwise further on the thumb screw and raise the whole thing upwards. But to do that, I have to go back and loosen this top piece up again so I can take up my upwards movement. I can do that bit by bit or in one big swoop. I'm going to try bit by bit this time so I can not have the whole thing go helter-skelter on me. And that's how it sits. There really isn't too big of a gap on the top. I'm critical at the bottom. I could go up just a hair. But I've got the adjustment maxed out full clockwise. It's probably how it was. I'm tempted to put a shim underneath the socket in the bottom here. This is how you get to the adjustment. And the instructions describe that. There must be a little bit of movement with those screws in the washer. They must have a big hole underneath there. Maybe they got the same deal here too. I'd kind of like to move the whole thing outwards, but I kind of wonder how that would work. Probably not well. I always see them installed like this, almost flush, basically, instead of proud like they should be. I'm still tempted though. It could be a matter of this going through the tube, but you'd have more room that way though, over there. It would probably work. You probably could get away with it. You just nibbled away, you know. You're talking about 2 or 3 millimeters out on both plates. I think I'd be inviting a nightmare, but that might be a future project. That and putting a shim underneath the bottom plate. Bring the whole thing up another 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. See, I am a little bit cocked this way, barely though. And I hit both ways, so the bottom hits evenly. See, it always did though. There's scuff marks there from how it always did. So it's kind of mounted now like it always was. So do I settle for always was, or do I go for greatness and try to move those plates? Shim that bottom plate, move the top plate out a little bit, shim the bottom and move it out a little bit. Could all be mine. Or I could find something more productive to do. And lastly, put the instructions back in their little pouch, so the next poor soul who has to work on this has a clue. And here's another Lazy Susan. Looks like a different manufacturer even. There is no thumb screw thing here to control the bottom niblet. The top niblet works kind of the same way the other one did. But at the bottom here, oh, wait a minute, what is there here? Yeah, this is a much simpler design. It's kind of just set and it's going to work, you know. There's not a lot of adjustment involved. You set it up right the first time. I think because these cabinets were probably engineered with the thing in there. You know, they're probably pre-assembled cabinets, and the factory probably puts this thing in. So if this one slipped, I guess you'd have to deal with the screws and trying to jack the whole thing up. Should be a major pain in the bottom. The tolerances are pretty good. It's a weird angle here. They never come out exactly right though. There's enough gap in the bottom though, so it's pretty evenly capped. I looked at my brother-in-law's too, and his was like mine. It had the thumb screw adjustment. And we were talking on and on about the challenges of working these things.